everybody, this is Crypto Rich, working with you to get rich with crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. And in this video, I'm going to be interviewing one of the newest additions to the Electroneum team. She's one of the advocates for Electroneum, and I'm really finding out from her why she joined Electroneum and what she sees as Electroneum's vision. Please like, subscribe, click the notification bell, upvote, and comment. And as a comment, you could give me the ticker symbol for the cryptocurrency that I'm going to be talking about in this video, or any cryptocurrency. Just send me ticker symbols. All of that makes a difference. If you're watching this on YouTube, come over to BitTube, where I usually post my videos first, and you can earn 2 coins and support the cause of censorship resistance, because I am being shadow banned on YouTube. You can also find me on Bitchute and on library.tv and also on odyssey.com. Those platforms also allow you to earn cryptocurrency and reward me in cryptocurrency should you wish to do so. Join my official Telegram announcements channel, and please do follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT. If you want to know which cryptocurrencies or altcoins to invest in for long-term, medium-term, or short-term, or to trade in, then take a look at Tokenmetrics. Tokenmetrics uses artificial intelligence-based crypto indices, rankings, and price predictions to give you the best possible altcoins and cryptocurrencies to hodl or trade with. Link in the description below. Now, if you haven't listened to my incredible interview with Ollie Acuna, Electroneum's PR manager, I do urge you to do that. You can find it in my Electroneum playlist. Hey, Jillian, thank you so much for making yourself available. And you are one of the advisors on Electroneum, and we're going to be talking about that. But I just want to start by asking you a little bit about your background, how you got into blockchain.
Okay, a little bit. Okay, right. Where to start? Do you want the long version or the short version?
The juicy version.
No, the short version. The short version is that I have a fintech background. So I'm like 30 years in fintech, and I started off, I'm Irish, as you can tell from my accent, but my first job was with JP Morgan in London as a systems analyst. And then I moved to Australia and Singapore, and I was a very bad programmer, I must confess. And in fact, I programmed because I was a newbie programmer, they gave me things to do like date validation routines for the year 2000. Does that ring a bell if any of you old enough to remember the year 2000?
Yes.
And I know all of my date validation routines, if they were still on live computers, they would all fall over because I did not take into account the year 2000 as a divisible of 4. Anyway, so I did that. I moved to Australia for 3 years and then Singapore for 2 years. And I was working in fintech there, but I moved into the PR and marketing side of things. Very interesting. I worked for like Units International in Australia and IBM, and in Singapore, again, I was Asia Pac director for the region for fintech. So that was very interesting. And I came home to Ireland, and so the short version, home to Ireland, and we lived in Dublin for a bit, and then I moved down the country with my husband, who was English, and we bought a big guest house. We were doing that, and we're going to live happily ever after. Except that didn't happen, right? So we're in this really big guest house in the country. And I thought I had it all. I thought I had my husband and my 2 lovely children and a big house. And I was, involved in the local church. I was a church warden and a Sunday school teacher and sang in choirs. And, I had my own business, which was on PR and fintech. And I thought I had everything. And then I realized I didn't. I realized actually that very sadly, we were not compatible anymore. I'm a very slow burner. Anyway, but that was around the year 2008. Alarm bells, never get divorced in a recession. So basically we split up around that time. My ex went back to the UK shortly afterwards. We'd also borrowed money on the big house, and he went back to the UK and he went bankrupt. So he gave all the debt to myself and our 2 children. So I'm back in Ireland with this big house, big debt. I've got all the debt now, and the crash is happening at the same time. And so I thought, what do I do? I was kind of panicking a bit. And I'd always told my children when they were smaller and when the divorce started, I said, you'll always have your ponies. Because what you do as a parent, you want your kids to something they can hang on to, and that even though the divorce might be difficult, they still have something. And, ponies and kids, little girls, it was all kind of cute, whatever. So anyway, things were getting really bad. I'd made this promise to my children. I should have promised them hockey sticks. Be careful what you promise your children. You should know this. And then anyway, things got worse and worse and worse. I thought, I can't afford the big house. So we moved out to a little cottage. Well, actually moved out to a place that had stables and paddocks with a cottage attached, because the kids were so into their ponies. It was important that the ponies had a place to live. I rented out the big house, and that was okay. Right? I said, well, I'll figure this out. I'll figure it out. I have my own business. But the crash was happening, and I rented the house out, and I couldn't sell it. It was valued at 1.6 at one stage, 1.6 million euros now. And then it went down to 1.1. I got an offer of 1.1 that fell through. So I put people into the house to rent it out, kind of cover the mortgage because everything was crashing. And the drug squad evicted my tenants because they turned it into a grow house. So it was all, the squad arrived at 6 o'clock on a morning with all loads of cars and Kalashnikovs, whatever you call them, and in a very rural little backwater in Ireland, and they broke through the front door and they rounded up all the suspects, whatever. They found nothing really, just remnants of stuff. But the irony was the back door was open. This is Ireland. You never lock your back door. So anyway, there's all this commotion. But so the house was a bit destroyed. I couldn't rent it out again. So friends, I just sell it. So I made a little video to sell it. And the video was kind of quirky. And as it happened, it went a bit viral. So all of a sudden, people were sort of following around, and Mark Little, who people might know, he's an ex-RT journalist, but also he founded Storyful, which was bought by Murdoch some years ago. And he was in New York promoting his Storyful, which is citizen-curated news, which is kind of new back in those days. And people in the Huffington Post, New York Times said, there's some divorcee, in Ireland, selling their house on YouTube. Do you know her? And he goes, I do, because everybody knows everybody in Ireland. And it kind of went a bit crazy. And I became I was on every paper, I was on every TV. Jeremy Paxman had me on. They sent a film crew over to film me in the middle of all this, all crazy stuff. And I got a cash offer in the middle of it for 500,000 euros to buy the place. But the banks preferred to refuse consent to sell because it wasn't quite the size of the mortgage. And the mortgage was 800,000. And they preferred to repossess it. So they did that. They repossessed it, and they sold it a few months later for 165,000. So it made no sense. This was the craze that was happening in Ireland. And during this period, so I'd been from successful, entrepreneur, business owner, kids, respectable, and then all of a sudden these funny things were happening to me, and I couldn't understand. My business was starting to collapse because my brain was a bit fudged with all the things that were happening. It was fried, and then the drug squad and selling the house, and then all these interviews I was doing. It was kind of really crazy. But then I started to hear this narrative about how the banks were saying, people are gaming the system, moral hazard, all these things, and debt forgiveness, And as we know now, I think we're a bit more sophisticated. But back in 2008, 2009, people kind of believed the banks then, still thought, oh, they must be, reasonable institutions. But of course, people were being shamed for failing financially, big time in Ireland. And we had the Celtic Tiger before the crash. So about at least one person a week, typically a man, were losing their life to suicide because of being shamed financially, for failing financially. And, it take a small thing to, people don't realize you're only ever 2 paychecks away from being homeless. That sounds very extreme, but I've been there, and it's actually true. Especially in those times when people, they lost their job, they had large mortgages because the houses were overinflated, and they weren't, they were just buying ordinary houses. They weren't like buying mansions or anything like that. And it was a horrible time. I got really very angry and very activated. So when the banks repossessed my home, I had no choice but to become bankrupt because I still owed the entire debt. And I was the first female bankrupt under the new laws here in Ireland to become bankrupt. And but that's what I learned as well, that I wasn't allowed to run for public office. We actually inherited UK law, and the UK law, which is a bit arcane, said that if you fail financially, you are not a good citizen, and therefore you're not allowed to run for public office. So I was even more cross about this. So I teamed up with some very heavy-hitting barristers who decided to want to run the case pro bono. We brought the Irish government to the High Court saying that my constitutional rights were being infringed because as a bankrupt, I should be allowed to run for public office. I had done nothing morally wrong. I was not a bad citizen. I hadn't stolen or thieved or killed anybody. I had just failed financially. And so, long story short, they changed the law. And then the next set of elections coming up was the 2014 European parliamentary elections. And so, newbie politician candidate here, I had to run for it. I mean, I couldn't, go for it, but I had no money. I was on the welfare because my business had collapsed, everything had been taken from me, and I was like 180 euros a week. So I had no money. I couldn't afford posters. I couldn't afford barely diesel into my car. So, but anyway, I ran on behalf in Ireland South, it's on behalf of anti the banks, anti-austerity, and for the people, if you like. And I had an amazing 6 weeks. Amazing 6 weeks. I would recommend anybody to have a go at being a political candidate. And it's quite different because up till then, I had been interviewed nonstop by people because I kind of epitomized what was happening in Ireland. The poor little lady, left with the big debts from their dastardly ex-husband and the 2 kids, and and I wasn't a threatening person. I wasn't a developer. I drove a Skoda. I was a church warden. I wasn't I was a very ordinary person, and then I had all these things happening to me. But when you become a political candidate, the gloves are off. So then it was a very different form of questioning. That was quite tough because people would attack you, and it was quite scary being on, live television and live radio, and all of a sudden, rather than saying, "Oh, poor dear, how are you doing?" Do you have enough eggs for your tea? It was like, whoa! But a very inspiring period for me. And I ended up it was interesting. I ran in the local council because it was the same time, and the European elections. And on the last morning when the counts were coming in, I'd fared very badly in my local elections, but mostly because I'd gone around saying, "I'm not going to fix your potholes," which is what they want local councillors to do. So I kind of get that. But I was kind of humbled by that. But I topped the tally of the independents in my Wicklow region. So I wrote this blog before I went down to Cork in the south of Ireland where the cancer centre was. And in the blog, I wrote about my experience. And the one takeaway I have from doing that experience was that every vote I got humbled me, but every vote I didn't get equally humbled me. And that was a real realization. So when I drove down my little car, I'd borrowed a car, I didn't have a car anymore, down to Cork, and I said I'd pop in for a couple of hours to the count centre. And in Ireland, we have proportional representation, which means it takes a long time to do the count. I'd been there for a couple of hours. 3 days later, they peeled me out. But I was finally eliminated on 11,500 votes, which was amazing because, I mean, I had no money, nothing, whatever. So, and I drove home. I remember my sister and my brothers down in Cork, and I drove home the next day. I remember thinking, okay, I've done that. So that's the short story. So, and you're saying, what has that got to do with blockchain? Well, I drove home, right? And I went, my life is over. That's it. Because also when you are a political candidate, everybody wants a piece of you. They want to know what you had for breakfast, what you think about the youth vote, what you think about the LGBTQT, what you think about wind farms, what do you think about, you name it, everything is up for grabs. They want to know what your stance is. And then when it's all over, the phone stopped ringing. Like a faded Hollywood star, you know, nobody ringing, nobody wanting to know where I was. I thought, okay, my life is over. And then shortly afterwards, well, actually about a year later, actually, honestly, and I kind of thought, I was kind of pottering along, thinking, how to get my life back together again? I couldn't get work because I was too old and I'd been self-employed for too long and I was too high profile. So I did a master's in screenwriting. That kind of kept me occupied for a bit, but I was applying for jobs. I couldn't even get interviews and I didn't know what I was going to do the rest of my life. And I kind of thought, you know, I'm only 50, so I must have more to my life to come. This is not the end. It's not the way but I just thought, yeah. And then I met blockchain and I went, this is what I was meant to do. And I could see in blockchain the technology, and although I didn't need at the time the first craziness of the ICOs, but just the whole technology and what it means for what we can change the world. It's unthinking the world and it's rethinking the world. And I went, oh, this is such a powerful technology to change things, to change financial services, accountability in banking, you know, people owning their own property, data, identity. There's so many things. And the projects that are involved in blockchain, for the most part, they're innovative, they have strong technology. Yeah, they want to be successful, but they have at their kernel, their center, a desire to make the world a better place. And not in a hippy-dippy way, but to genuinely make the world a better place. And so the last 3 or 4 years, I have been all in on blockchain. So that's why I love blockchain.
Very good. Okay, and what is it you do?
Oh, okay. So, okay, what I did is I'm a journalist and I've got marketing and PR, right? So, but I've been writing a lot more, and I'm also a broadcaster too as well. I've been writing a lot more in my 12 years of being a decade horriblest, whatever. I did a lot of writing. I wrote for a lot of the broadsheets here in Ireland, the Irish Times and the Irish Independent. I would do ranting and raving on socialist issues and stuff like that. So I was doing a lot more writing, and I would have done a lot of fintech writing too as well. So I thought, okay, I will do some writing, and I approached a couple of editors that I knew, and I started writing for Crypto Coin News and Irish Tech News and other ones. And it was so funny because I've been 10 years out of tech, busy fighting, you know, being political, and then getting back into tech, and then going, what does this mean? What does that mean? And I'd write stuff, and I'm going, ooh, I wonder, ooh. It was quite scary because, you know, it's like, I'd put stuff in going, oh, I hope I've got it right there. And it's such a steep learning curve. And it is, because blockchain, even to fintech people, it's a steep learning curve. And the whole world of cryptocurrencies, which is connected to it, it's also mind-blowing. So it's kind of crazy. So I did a lot of writing. And then that was started off. And about 6 months after I started working in this space, I was at one of the sites I was writing for, got an invitation. They wanted someone to come and chair a blockchain conference in Kiev on fashion on the blockchain. And the editor, Simon Coffey, said to me, do you want to go? I went, oh, okay. So I went, and it was like an amazing experience. I'd never been to Ukraine before. I'd never chaired a conference before. I only chaired part of this conference, whatever. But it was a whole new experience. And since then, I got a lot of offers, and I have done about 3 years. I've been traveling, before COVID, traveling nonstop to the Middle East, to States, to Asia, to all across Europe, and chairing and Africa, speaking at blockchain conferences, chairing them and speaking at them. And I must say, I love it. And during that time, mostly I get my expenses paid, but sadly, I wasn't getting paid for my time. But it was an amazing experience because I met all these amazing people. And when you're a chair of a conference, you got to be on top of things. So it forced me to learn rapidly because you're there and you might have, 30, 40 speakers over a 2-day period. And you got to listen to them, do the links, do the summaries. And it was a great experience. It was an amazing experience. And then I started doing more writing. I co-founded blockleaders.io, which is a new site for block leaders information, blockchain type information. And primarily now what I'm doing is writing, a lot of journalism. And I'm speaking tomorrow at a conference in India at 9:30. It's all about it's women, championing women, actually, but in blockchain and cryptocurrency. I do a lot of advocacy for women in the space. Because my little joke goes, if the Lehman brothers had been the Lehman sisters, we mightn't have had the 2008 financial crash. Boom, boom. So, so I ask people, we need women. I think it's because I believe in this area, in this sector, to change the world. We need women. We need diversity as well, of course. But primarily, I start with women to come into the space. So that's where I'm at the moment. I'm writing a lot. I also have a couple of shows that I broadcast, radio shows here in Ireland. And I do some advocacy for different clients that I might have too as well.
Okay, and one of the projects that you're an advisor for is Electroneum. So how did that come about?
Oh, I'm so lucky. They were the first project I ever heard about. It was after their ICO, and when I just stepped into this world, it came up quite a few times. And I don't know if it was because it was in the UK. I don't know, but it was just I'd heard about them a lot. I've been tracking them over the years, and then I had the good fortune to meet Richard Els, was he the president or the chair nowadays, but the founder.
Yeah.
And CEO founder, and also Ollie Acuna, who's the PR guy, and a couple of other chaps as well in Malta. So I interviewed them, I spoke with them, and I really enjoyed what they were doing, following them. And then recently again, I'm not sure if people are aware that what I love about Electroneum, they're clever because they want to support the unbanked, but they also recognize that how do you earn cryptocurrency? People say, oh, should I invest in cryptocurrencies? You haven't got money to invest. You can't do it, but maybe you could earn money. So they set up anytask, which is like a gig system, a bit like Fiverr, and people can earn cryptocurrency. They learn ETN through working, and that makes a huge difference. Because actually, I own very few coins. Any coins that I have, I earn them because I didn't have the money to buy them. I can't speculate or anything. I have no money, so I have to earn them all. So I love the whole idea of the anytask site. And the other beauty of the anytask site is that people who come onto it, when they earn their ETN. Well, for starters, they're not paid. They don't pay fees. The fees are paid by the buyers, which makes sense because the fees are very low. But secondly, if you are unbanked, it's very hard to get your money out of the system, crypto, because you have to do KYC at the exchanges. And if you don't have a passport or maybe even an address properly, how do you get your money out? Because you can't do proper KYC. But with the ETN, you can use it to buy minutes, especially in any number of countries out in the African continent. You can use it to buy minutes.
The data, just so you know, I think is in over 160 countries now.
I think, thank you. Yes, I'm
the Christmas buy electricity.
It's huge. And then there's also at least 4 countries, they're bringing more on, where you can use ETN to pay for your utility bills.
There's 9.
9 now. I'm going to make you advisor. I'm promoting you. Of course. Actually, do you know that I did it on purpose? Because if I said the number, people would not remember. But because I fluffed it and you had to correct me, people will remember. Yeah, think it. But anyway, it's just, I love the whole ethos behind it. It's not, and there's 4 million users who have, who have the wallet, and there's a huge number of active users, and it's meaningful. Because again, I go back to that point. People say to me now, because Bitcoin's going the crazy one, the other altcoins, they're going, oh, are you in Bitcoin? Can you invest? I don't have extra money to invest. I'm like the rest of Joe Blogs. I earn money and I pay my bills, and I have very little disposable income aside from that. I certainly don't have, millions lying around that I want to invest in coins. I just don't have it. So how do ordinary people get into it? And you don't have to be an African citizen to sign up to anytask. You can be obviously anywhere in the world. But it's for me, I just love the thinking behind it, because it's actually looking at, how do we make this a reality? How do we make this mass adoption a thing and give people the freedom? And not, I remember I went to a conference in Cape Town a couple of years ago, and I was speaking a couple of times, full of very well-meaning bankers. Is that a tautology? Or an oxymoron, sorry? And then it was very funny, I got to the very end, they're also about how do we bank the unbanked? And then I got to the end where all the blockchain people were, and they're going, how do we unbank the world? And I went, it was kind of funny, where I wrote like kind of an anarchist in the corner. But it's more, how do you help people? And I just love their thinking. It's real world. And I know that Richard is trying terribly hard to get deals with construction, with medicines, so that you can use ETN to buy all these things. And you don't have to go through middlemen and not pay huge fees. And it's just, it's like, we live in a world where we seem to be going backwards, I think. At Oxfam every year does their piece at Davos. We know more and more people own, less than people own the most of the wealth in the world. It's like you put them into a double-decker bus, and that's disgusting. To be honest, disgusting. I think that's just horrible. And we think we have come on a long way. We are a lot more evolved human beings than we were, 100 years ago when women got the vote, or 200 years ago. But I don't know why this money thing. Why have we gone backwards? Why are people? And even like this pandemic, we know that it is adversely affecting the more vulnerable people, and the people who are in this pandemic who are making lots of money, who are very comfortable. They have lots of money in the bank, and they're going to go out on their big holidays when they can. And it's just, I don't know. It's just, can we not get it right? Are we not intelligent enough to get it right?
We are intelligent enough to get it right, but whether there are those with the power
and the will,
economic power, right? They're doing okay. And it's interesting just on what's happening with the response to the pandemic and the lockdown and everything, which is you've got a centralization of power and wealth moving upwards into, governments ruling by decree increasingly. And then I saw something in Zero Hedge today that Amazon have bought a handful of Boeing 737s. So they're getting into the air cargo business, right? Airlines are suffering, but Amazon's doing okay.
Yeah.
So a movement of power. And then what blockchain represents, is this radical democratization and decentralization of wealth. And something in particular, Jillian, that occurred to me. You will know, and I think many of my regular viewers will know, my background is what I'm trained in is in child protection social work. And one of the things that appealed to me about Electroneum is to bank the unbanked. But it just occurred to me with the anytask that a woman can receive payment directly without it having to go through the patriarch of the household. That women
even better, even better, they dropped the age limit for people to get, normally it's 18 for social media, blah, blah. It's not, you correct me please again. I think it's like at 13. And, I remember Ollie saying, people said, oh, is that child slavery? No, it's so that children, a gifted designer at 13, 14 can earn money.
Yeah.
Rather than go out in the streets. Or maybe needs to support a mother who's sick or a family who are sick, but they're the de facto adult. So I totally agree with you. I mean, like this, I don't know. I get very exasperated, like why we're not being better people and helping people more. And just, how many cars do you need to drive? How many houses do you need to live in? What is this thing about having so much wealth? And why can't we share it? It's equity. And I don't mean charity. I mean, and also, another thing that's going off track a bit now, UBI. I think universal basic income, I think it's a brilliant idea. Give everybody the base level, because all of the welfare states, and don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful to be living in a democracy where there is a welfare state, because I relied upon it in the pandemic when I was bankrupt. I had no income, couldn't get work, whatever. Very grateful for it. But it kind of traps people into that. It's very hard to get out of it. When people get into the social things, it's difficult to get out because some of the rules are daft. I was talking about this earlier. If you were getting a social supplement of some kind because you need some extra money, right? But then you're not allowed to get work. You're penalized. Why can't you work on top of that? Which is what a UBI could do. Give someone a base level. And then if they work jolly hard, great. And if they don't, they're still not going to fall off the cliff, Mm-hmm. I don't know. We need to rethink the way we do our things in this world.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I want to take it back to Electroneum.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
It's completely fine.
Cut that bit all out.
But so you'd heard about Electroneum. You knew what it does. It appealed to you in terms of its economic enfranchisement of the distressed and the unbanked and the underbanked. So what happened then? Richard asked you,
okay.
You asked Richard or what? And
no. What
do you do?
More simple than that. I saw the anytask. I attended a virtual conference and I got an anytask gift voucher. And like most of us, people did soda bread, salt bread, and banana bread. People went mad doing those things during the lockdown. I didn't because I'm not a baker or a gardener. But I did finally put together a little book that I've been meaning to write.
Was that me or you?
I think you dropped off. You went very still for a bit.
Or you went very still for me. So, and then you disappeared.
I was just saying how I had produced this lovely book, and I was flashing it around. And I was so pleased with myself because I thought I'm the next Quentin Blake, of illustrators. So I produced this book, and Ollie saw it, and he said, can I interview for it? I said, absolutely. I said, I'm so pleased because it was a vanity project and I so enjoyed doing it. And it cost me next to nothing. And it was a very nice thing to do. And then we got chatting. Then I said, can I interview Richard? Because I was supposed to interview him. I did a small interview, I think, in Malta, but I wanted to do a proper one. And so I caught up and interviewed Richard again. And I caught up on all the things they were doing. I'm going, oh, wow, this is amazing. And at the end of the interview, I think I said to Richard, can I come and work for you, please? Please, 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 please. So, short time afterwards, it was agreed that I would help with them. And it's just because I'm actually so excited about, I have been during the 3 years advisor to different projects, right? And some of them I like because we're innovative, and some I like because I like the people. And a lot of them failed. We know that a lot of them sort of passed by the wayside, whatever. But what I like working for Electroneum is that it aligns with my values, and that's really important for me because I just love it. What Electroneum is doing is what cryptocurrency and blockchain was meant to do in my mind. And it's an alignment of values, and I like the people. The people are lovely, and I love working with them. And they're just amazing.
Okay, so you come on as an advisor. So what is it you actually do? Because the project's doing really, really well. What advice do you give, Jillian?
I'm an advocate.
You're an advocate. So
no, actually, I'm an advocate. Sorry, I have the wrong thing. I'm an advocate. Yeah,
advocate. Sorry.
Which is it's better. So it means that I have them on my radio shows.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you say that again.
I'm an advocate for them.
Okay.
I'm an advocate for Electroneum. So what that means is that I advocate for them, which is true because in my role at the moment, as especially my journalism role, I'm interviewing people the entire time from across the spectrum. And sometimes I see opportunities for doing introductions. I'm going, ooh, have you considered this? So I've done a number of introductions where there could be synergies where people could work together on projects and people could help each other. And I enjoy doing that. And then I've done a number of interviews with other members of the management team, and I've had some of them on my radio shows. I have a radio show, one of the radio shows that I haven't done. It's called Making a Difference, and it is about that, people making a difference. So I like the people who are in the world. So I've had at least one person on that program, and I like to write about them. So it as an advocate, because I'm thinking about, have you done this, or have you I go, oh, do you know Electroneum? Have you? So that it's just looking. I'm trying to do lighthousing and figuring out ways of where I can help them open doors or reach new audiences, and then also I do give not so much advice, but I would give them backing or my comments on what they're doing in terms of the communications. Because obviously I have 30 years of communications experience, so anything that I can basically. I clean the toilets. I love this company.
Very good, very good. Okay, all right. So that's what you provide for them. What do you? And you told us what you like about them. You've told us how you got in with them, right? In your experience of it. So how do you see it rolling out for the project in the future?
Well, I think the big thing that the management team are working on and Electroneum is working on is getting these contracts in place so that you can use Electroneum anywhere, basically. So what the anytask, which is an amazing thing to allow ordinary people to earn cryptocurrencies, because it's very hard to earn. If you're a Joe So, how do you earn cryptocurrencies as opposed to buy them? So that's a really innovative way. And at the moment, it's digital work at the moment, but I'm sure it'll expand into other areas as time goes on. And then the flip side is to find ways that they can people can spend ETN. So it's a meaningful currency. It's some funny stuff that you have that has value. It just makes sense.
Yep, and we're just losing signal, so I'm going to say it. So it's a meaningful currency, has a real world use case. Not just something that just sits around doing nothing. It can actually has real.
Did I stop with
application? I don't know, Jillian, but I think I've covered what you said. I managed to grab enough of it, right? Real world use application, and not just something sitting around doing nothing, and something that people can actually really use to buy.
Yeah.
To buy essential goods and services like electricity, like mobile phone data.
Because if you think about it, because you'll know this because you work directly in the social areas, social services. But if you think about people like no access to credit, no access to money, how hard it must be to get your life together. I complain about here in the developing world how I found it very difficult to get my life back together again. But if you're like in, I don't know, in the middle of Nigeria, Nigeria is very upset at the moment in terms of its politics. But, you know, how do you build a life? How do you access money? How do you access credit? How do you do stuff? It's so difficult that there are so many challenges that we haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue.
And I think the thing to acknowledge is their single-minded pursuit of fulfilling this vision. And, you know, in terms of the NGOs that they're working with, the other people that they've brought on as advisors. So, yes, man with a mission, a team with a mission, because it is a team effort. I'm clear about that. Jillian, anything else you want to say about Electroneum, or anything else you want to say that you want to let people know before we finish up?
Okay, well, I love Electroneum. I'm very honored to be able to work with them. I think the team are amazing. What they're doing is amazing. So that just ticks all my boxes. So very happy about that. Very happy to shout about that. And the other thing I want to mention is that I've just published my first non-fiction book on blockchain and cryptocurrencies. It's called Persons of Interest. It does indeed feature Richard Ells, I interviewed him, but also it's got people like John McAfee and Andreas Antonopoulos, and lots of people from President from Ireland, and also I've got like any model from any fans who also writes about blockchain and BDSM. So it's a real amazing sort of hodgepodge people. So it's only 99 cents, and it's called Persons of Interest.
Right, it's an ebook, I take it, right?
Timestamped in cryptocurrency and blockchain.
Okay, very good. Well, I'll have a link.
It's on Amazon, so you can get the ebook, or you can also get a paperback as well.
Okay, good. Well, I have a link to that and all your other links in the description below. Any other last words?
Happy New Year.
Indeed. Happy New Year, Jillian. And I think we've managed to make it, and the internet's dying.
I'm hoping. I know.
So listen, Jillian, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me about what you've been doing and about Electroneum. If anybody's watching, all the links in the description below. If you have comments and questions, you know, put them below the video. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with crypto profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Jillian signing out. All the best. Bye-bye. Keep your crypto safe in an Ellie wallet. Discount link in the description below.